here too. Here is our valid and fiscal wedding chain, Roger. You can give it to the bride.
We have 18 people on the call already. Okay, so I told him to give me some few minutes, I'll join. But they are just still waiting for guys to join. So let me finish. Yeah.
Hey guys, I think we've waited enough for people to join. I think we can kick off now. Good afternoon, everybody, and happy Easter. I'm happy to meet everybody again. It's been 3 weeks of Techhaven, and I hope everybody has learned one or two things. And everybody has gotten better before they joined Techhaven. Today, we continue and we move on Mr. Kenny had us last week. I'll be taking us this week, and we have a couple of exciting things to get to today. So let's get to it. I think, yep. Okay, so welcome guys and happy Easter again. Today we'll be having a recap from last class. And during the last class and the class before, we covered essential traits for designers. We did a deep dive into UX research. We did research questionnaire best practices as well. And in today's class, we'll do low fidelity wireframing, visual design principles and practice, and a surprise presentation by one of us here. So yeah, that's that. The reason why we're doing the recap is to just refresh our minds, to be sure that all of the things that we learned last week and the week before, we haven't forgotten, any of them. So getting right into it, for the essential traits for designers that we covered towards the end of last week's class, we talked about how for product designers, we need to love the boring stuff. So all this research work that we're doing, all this documentation, all this UX work that we're doing, interviews and surveys and all those things, how we need to be in love with those things as well. While they might not be like the things that have been used, we talk about product design, for many people, what we might have known would probably be like UI design, buttons, prototypes, and all those other things. But, all these other things that are seemingly boring as well, we need to love those things because they are essential. They are the foundational things upon which every other thing is built. And without them, nothing stands. And then Google Ninja as well, we talked about how you need to love finding things on Google, how Google is your friend, how if you need anything, if you're not sure about anything, Google should be the first place you go to, which can help you better refine your question and have a better understanding of whatever it is that you want to do. We also talked about recording every moment. This is very, very key. For product designers, you need to record everything. You need to take pictures, you need to take snapshots, and you need to save papers, from the discovery to the wireframing to the prototyping to delivery stage to whatever thing that you're doing, using sticky notes, doing surveys, doing interview with your clients, trying to understand the problem and all of that. Save every moment. Take pictures, record videos, save voice notes, everything. Keep everything, right? You're going to need them in the future, so please make sure you do that. Also, be an English god. I mentioned that you need to have a love for reading. You need to have a love for improving your English because everything you're going to be doing as a product designer is really tied to English. You're going to interview people in English. You're going to do presentations in English. Your UI design is going to have English in the buttons, in the fonts, and everywhere. So, ultimately, there's no running away from English. You need to be really, really good in English. It's really, really important. Also, you need to develop a thick skin and always be objective. We talked about that, how a lot of people are going to criticize the work that you're doing, and you need to have a thick skin. You can't let, whatever it is that people are telling you get to you, or you being emotional or taking things personal. You need to separate your ego, your confidence, and your general well-being from your design. So when people are telling you, oh, this is not good about your design, this is not good about what you've done, you look at it objectively, right? Instead of being emotional or taking things personal. We also talked about how you need to be time conscious. You need to think about time. If you have a deadline, you need to meet that deadline. You need to even work and make sure that you deliver before that deadline. There isn't African time in product design. You need to be on time all the time. Then you need to be up to date as well. There are so many tools being launched every time, which are constantly doing your work better. So you need to be on trend. You need to know what's new, what's happening, what's popping, what new tools are there, what new methods are there, and pick out what you can from each of these things so that you can continue to be better and be relevant in the way that you're going about your product design. And then lastly, you need to be a great listener. You need to be a great listener to your clients, to your colleagues that you're working with, to your users, to the markets, to, just all the stakeholders involved in the entire product design process, from, the client who is giving you the job, to the developers who you're going to be working with, to the users who you're developing for, to maybe the marketers and the salespeople who are going to be giving you information on what you want to do. You need to listen to all of those people and take out what you can from each of those classes, right? Now, we also did a deep dive into UX research. I'm just going to skim through all of these things because did some very good work taking us through all of these things in the past week. So UX design, UX research rather, it's a practice used in UX and in product design to make business and design decisions by learning real customer problems and needs. So essentially, the whole point of UX research is, we assume that, you can easily make assumptions on things and say, okay, I think this, I think this, I think this, and then do things and design a product and take it to the market. At the end of the day, nobody wants to use it. The reason for that a lot of times is because what you have designed did not take into account what people actually need. And UX research is how you're able to get into the minds of the users, is how you're able to understand the business motivation behind the products that you want to design and take all of those insights into what you want to do, so that at the end of the day, you don't design based on your own assumptions, based on what you like, but instead based on what the user needs, which at the end of the day is the most important person in everything that we're doing. We also talked about why do we do user research. Number one, to be better than competitors. That's like very, very key. When you do user research, if you don't do it, you won't be better than your competitors, because you won't know what the competing products are doing, how are they making the product usable for people, how are they keeping people around in their products and stuff. You won't know that if you don't do UX research. So one of the key reasons why to do UX research is to be better than the competitors, because when you know what your competitors are doing, you're able to build on that and introduce more things to lure your users to your own products. Another great reason to do UX research is to also decrease the risk of product mistakes, right? So it's very, very expensive to build any product, and it doesn't make sense when at the end of the day you take it to the market, it's not useful, or there are so many mistakes that you could have avoided if you had done UX research. So by doing UX research, it helps you to avoid so many mistakes that you could have done, because now you know what's at the benchmark in the market, the existing solutions in the market, you even know whether you should be working on that product or not, so those are some of like the very, very key things. It also helps you with insight-driven planning. So rather than you making assumptions and saying, I think this, I think that, you use insights to plan what you want to do throughout your entire product design life cycle, really. And then it helps you to also cultivate user empathy in your team. So this is for the team broadwide. So aside from you just working on these things, it helps you to cultivate user empathy. So essentially, it helps you to put your user at the focus of everything that everybody is doing, right? So rather than you just working on something and having an abstract idea of a user you're building for, doing UX research helps you to understand who exactly is going to use this product, how do they want to use this product, what problems are they having, and building all of your entire solution around that user, and of course around the business goals of your clients as well. And then it also helps you to market based on user needs. So UX research helps you to understand what do your user needs, and by the time when you have launched the product and you want to take it to market, what you understand that your user needs is how you're going to market the product that you've built. So this comes in very handy for the salespeople, for the marketing people, and for you as the product designer who is going to be working with those people to take the product to market. Now, for UX research methods as well, there are a bunch of them. Kenny talked last week about the generative and evaluative types. He also talked about the quantitative and the qualitative types. And for all these different methods that there are in UX research, depending on what you're trying to achieve, depending on the goal, it helps you to decide on which exact one you need to do, right? So when you think about the methods, there's the interview, which is generative, it's qualitative, and it's also attitudinal. That's in terms of what you're trying to do, right? So for the interview, a researcher meets with participants one-on-one to discuss in depth what the participants thinks about the topic in question, right? And then there's field study as well, where the researcher meets with and study participants in their natural environment. So for instance, if you wanted to build something for a carpenter, a product for a carpenter, right? Instead of you to sit down in your own office and be be coming up with a lot of assumptions with how the carpenter might use the products, in field study, you actually go and meet the carpenter and observe them in their workshop where they are going to eventually use the products. Because a lot of times when you build a product for somebody outside of their natural habitats, right, you find out that at the end of the day, when they now take it to where they are actually going to use the product, there are a lot of dynamics that might affect how they are going to use that product. So doing field studies, it gives you a lot of insights on how people are actually going to use that product in their own natural habitats, not in their own, conducive environment and stuff. And then concept testing, like we always do, we would also share all of these techniques so that, just a favor you want to have for you to look at all of these techniques. Sorry, somebody was disturbing. And then concept testing as well. A researcher shares an approximation of a product or service that captures the key essence, right? So you have the concept of what you want to do, and then you try to test that and see, what do people think about that before you go for that, and just develop the concept even further, right? And then usability studies, there's A/B testing, many of these things Kenny already talked about last week. There's also the eye tracking, which is a very, very interesting one. It's an eye tracking device, which is configured to precisely measure where your participants are looking at. So for instance, if you have built something and you want to see where your users are immediately looking at when they launch that product, using a device like this helps you to understand, where are they looking at immediately, where is getting their attention, and then you can use that to make adjustments depending on where exactly you want them to be looking at when they first interact with your product, and then there's the customer feedback as well, which is just open-ended or closed-ended information provided by self-selected users. This is usually where you bring your users together and try to ask them questions and try to understand and gain insights on what they think about certain things, right? And then there's survey, which a lot of us are already familiar with, right? Where you put together like the Google form that a lot of us did, we share with people and we try to get feedback from them and stuff. So yeah, and then there's, aside from the research method, there's also the research tools. There are a bunch of them. We've gone over this previously as well, so I'll just run through them. So for recruiting, for in the UX research as well, there are like different parts of it. Like when you're recruiting the participants on your UX phase, there's also when you're conducting the survey, there's when you're conducting the interview, like all these different phases, there are different tools involved. So in the case of the recruiting, right? So there's this UX tweak, which you can use in your which you can use for onboarding the participants when you're trying to onboard participants in your program, right? And then there's the UXSSR as well. There's the FNEO, there's the social channels as a tool. So there are like a bunch of tools that you can use. Many of them, I'll share this. So the one you use is usually dependent on how much you have, and the preference of the teams that you're working with. So for instance, when you join certain companies, they already have like different tools that they use, which is what you're also naturally going to use as well. So there are like different dynamics involved in choosing which one you're going to go with. So there are just like a bunch of options giving you like different features that you can work with, right? There's also tools for survey. There's the Google form, which we are already very familiar with. There's the Airtable, which you can also use, which is a great option. There's Tally, which is very, very compatible with Notion, right? And then there's Typeform as well, another very great option that you can use. Then for tools for analytics, there's Oja, which is a very, very incredible tool, which helps you see how people are actually interacting with your product, right? Sorry. So there's Oddja, which allows you to see how people are actually interacting with your product. So if you have built an app, for instance, if you integrate it with Oddja, Oddja gives you recording of how people are actually using that product. So you see how they are interacting with it. If they are having difficulty with signing up, if they are having difficulty with, finding their way around the product, you are able to see it firsthand and then make iterations based on that. So Oddja is a very, very incredible analytics tool. And then Google Analytics as well. Kenny demoed this for us in terms of his own case study website as well, and how he uses this to understand which people are coming to check out his case study page and all of these things like that. So it's also a very, very incredible tool. And then moving to UX testing as well, there's the Google Optimize, there's Prig, and then there's Maze as well, just a bunch of tools that you can use that's very, very helpful in all these different stages of the UX research that you're doing. And then there's tools for conducting user interviews as well, which is when you're actually meeting with your users and trying to talk to them one-on-one, right? So there's Zoom, which is what we're currently using. So if you were to be meeting with your user, if you were to need to meet with your users, Zoom is another very great tool that you can use to meet with them and record that interaction and take down like different notes and all of those things, basically. Aside from Zoom, there are other options as well. There's Look Back, where you can see them using the product and interact with them and record them and talk to them, right? And then there's Ribbon as well. Again, there are like all these different tools. You're not going to use all of them at once. You're going to pick one and use, which is dependent on pricing, which is dependent on what your other stakeholders are familiar with and all of that, right? And then there are tools for documenting, which we are already familiar with. There's Google Docs, there's Notion, which I'm a great fan of. I use a lot of Notion. I've used Notion to develop these documents that I'm currently presenting to you guys, right? There's Dovetail, there are a bunch of them as well in terms of documentation and sharing your documents, articulating your thoughts, articulating the problem, and all of that. And then in terms of further reading, product designers are great readers. We read a lot of books, we read a lot of articles to help us expand our idea, expand and broaden our knowledge base and know more things. The more things you know, the better you're able to design a product. Because when you think about the work of product designers, we work across board. So today we might be working on something in the financial sector. Tomorrow we are working on something in the manufacturing sector. Next tomorrow we are working on something in the social sector. So we're just moving and jumping up and down like that. So the more we are able to learn about like different industries, different topics, the more we are able to tap, the more we have to tap from whenever we are presented with like different problems and different situations that we want to work on. So reading books are very, very key. At the beginning for you guys, it's important to read a lot of books. So there are a bunch of them that I can recommend, which I've read some myself and they have been very, very helpful for me. There's the Mom Test, which is a quick and easy handbook about getting more learning and more sales out of your customer conversations, even when everyone is lying to you. So the idea of the Mom Test really is because when you think about your mom, right? If you do something and you show it to your mom and you ask her, what do you think about this? There's a high chance that she will tell you that this is nice, oh, this is beautiful, oh, this is great, this is this is that. She'll just be telling you all the good things without telling you like the factual things and tell you that, actually, this is not good or this can be better and stuff. So reading the book Mom Test helps you to dig deeper when you're having conversation with your customers so that you can unearth the important insights that you need and not just the, oh, this is nice, or this is fire, and all of these things. So the Mom Test is a great book that can help you to get that, right? And as you go further down, there are a bunch of them. UX for lean startups, faster, smarter user experience and research and design, just a bunch of other options that you can also read and learn more about that, right? Just enough research as well is another very great tool. The user experience team of one, that's another great tool. Where to find it? I've attached the links to get all of these things there. Okay. Now, another thing that we talked about last towards the end of that class was sorry. research questionnaire best practices. So we talked about how when you're working on the user survey that you want to send out to people, there are like a couple of things that you need to keep in mind when you're working on those things. So number one, you need to define a clear and attainable goal for your survey. So at the very beginning, you need to know what exactly are you trying to do with this survey? How many people are you trying to get it to? What insights are you looking to get from this? It's important to have already defined that from the very beginning so that you can use that to frame your questions properly. If you don't know the insight you are trying to get, you won't be able to frame your questions properly. So at the very beginning, it's probably the first and most important thing you need to do. You need to define a clear and attainable goal for your survey, right? You need to keep more you need to keep the more personal questions to the end. So if there's any personal question that you want to get, you need to keep that to the end of that survey, right? Also, don't let your survey get too long. It's important to keep that in mind. Then you need to focus on using close-ended questions. So what do you mean by close-ended questions? We're talking about questions that use pre-populated answer choices for the respondents, right? Instead of open-ended questions where whoever it is that you're responding to is not very, very sure how exactly to answer that question, right? And then, sorry, so many things, yeah. And then consider including a survey incentive. I mentioned this last week that when you're sending survey, a lot of people are not likely to answer that question if there isn't an incentive there, except if they are your friends, right? And you would have seen how like bigger companies like Facebook and Instagram, and not just all the bigger companies, even smaller companies who are trying to get surveys, who are trying to get people to fill out survey, you see them promising you maybe like $100 or 1,000 or 2,000 if you fill out the survey and stuff. That is one way to encourage people to fill out your survey, right? So if you find yourself in a situation where people are not filling your survey, that's something that you can consider, introducing incentives so that people can fill out your survey, right? And then don't ask leading questions. In other words, try not to put your own opinion in the question. So make sure that the question in your surveys are open, and then you just put it out there so that people can give you their own genuine thoughts without it being influenced by your own idea that you have already put in that question, right? And then keep your answer choices balanced, very, very important. And then stay away from asking double-barreled questions. That's also very, very key. And then preview your survey before you send it. This is also another very key thing I wanted to mention. So after you finish putting together your survey, make sure you preview it by yourself, share it with your friends as well, let them go through. There's a high chance that there are maybe typography errors or something that you missed out or something you meant to put that you forgot to put and all of that. The only way you can avoid that is if you preview that survey before you send it out to people. So you don't have a situation where it is your respondents that are pointing out the errors in your survey for you, which can look very, very bad on you as a product designer, right? So that's that in terms of recap of all of the things that Kevin covered last week and some of the things that we also talked about as well. So for today's class, we are going to wireframing, and then visual design principles and practice, then a case study presentation by one of us, and then Q&A, which is usually how we end the class, where people are asking questions and then, answering those questions. So low fidelity wireframing. So what is it exactly, right? This is the use of sketchy lines and shapes to visualize the concept of an application. It provides a skeletal foundation upon which the high fidelity prototype will be built. So after you have done all the UX, you are now ready to start visualizing the concept of the solution. Anything you want to do, you have done the user flow, you have plotted how people are going to journey through the app. The next thing you want to do is start to visualize how exactly are people going to use this product, right? That is where low fidelity wireframing comes into the play. So before going into Figma and doing beautiful things and adding and doing all of those things, low fidelity is a very, very quick version of the high fidelity that you're going to do, right? So it usually involves just lines and shapes for you to show this is what you expect in this product. And then you can usually present that to different stakeholders involved and get their ideas and their thoughts and their feedback. And you can even make very, very quick iterations on what that product can look like. And where do you do it? It can be done on a variation of tools from paper and physical environments. So you can do it on a paper, right? You get a paper and then pencil. 2 weeks ago, I also shared a link for you to check out, for you to download mock-ups of like phones and different devices so that you can do your wireframe within the context of a real device, right? That could be a phone, that could be a tablet, that could be a desktop device, just so that when you're drawing your wireframe, you can see it in the context of a phone, like a real life scenario, right? Or you can also do it in digital tools like Miro, Whimsical, Lucidchart, Figma, and all of those other tools. So we'll get to that so that we can see exactly what that looks like. So let's go to Miro. Okay. So this is Miro. It's a whiteboarding tool. I'm sure many of us are familiar with this tool by now. So like I mentioned, the wireframing can be done both on paper and in digital tools like Miro, Figma, Whimsical, Lucidchart, and a bunch of other tools that are available on the internet, right? So like I explained, it's usually a visual representation of what you expect in the concept that you're working on, right? It just gives you an idea of how exactly is this product going to look like, right? So that's what wireframing, low fidelity wireframing is all about, right? So let's do one and see what that looks like, basically. Let's bring in more. So we've brought in a phone mockup. Let's say that we want to, okay. Let me see, who is there? Abiodun, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, boss, I can hear you.
Okay. Can you choose an app for us to create a low fidelity wireframe for?
Okay, I should just mention an app, right? And you can search it. Okay, yeah. let's do minting banking app.
Or to make it, okay, go on.
Okay, what came to me first was minting banking app.
Minting.
Or yeah,
Minting as an NFT.
MINTYN. It's a banking app.
Oh, is that an app that exists already?
Yes.
Oh, okay. To make it even more interesting, I'm thinking that how about you, just any idea that you have of an app, come up with an idea.
Okay, I am working on one.
Okay.
Okay, I'm trying to work on one I've been on for a while. Okay. A service application.
Okay.
Domestic. Interestingly, it's my assignment anyway that I did. So a domestic application where where users, where people can meet domestic help, like say house cleaners, mechanics, carpenters, hairdressers, if you want a service, barbers,
So that's like,
babysitters.
okay. So that's like,
Yeah. So a marketplace for that kind of service. Yeah.
Okay. So an application where users can, where people can find and hire artisans. Does this articulate
Yeah,
the idea of
exactly.
that?
Exactly.
Okay, great stuff. So what we want to do now is we want to put together wireframes for this application that Abiodun has suggested, where people can find and hire artisans, right? So Abiodun, again, this question is to you. What are the key things that needs to be shown in this app? What are the key points of interaction in the app?
Okay, there are two sides of it.
Okay.
The user, the client side and the service provider side. Yeah.
Okay.
So when you are registering, you're registering as either a service provider or
Or as a client.
a user, a client.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So you are registering as a client or as a service provider, right?
Let's register as a service provider first, because that's the main thing.
Okay, so register.
Service provider.
Okay, so that is, let's call that user onboarding. Client
As an artisan, yeah.
Or service provider. Okay. So okay. So we want to create a wireframe for that. So like I said, it's a combination of lines and shapes to show a visual representation of the concept, right? So this concept that we're working on now is a marketplace where you can find and hire artisans, right? And Abiodun has told us that the first thing that you need to do is to onboard the clients or artisan, which basically means being able to sign up as a client or as an artisan, right? So one of the ways that can be would be that, so we need so number one, we need to so Abiodun, give your app a name.
Yeah, the name is Service You, actually. So
okay.
maybe for the, okay, should we go with the original name? Yeah, it's cool.
Okay. So welcome to Service You.
Yup.
Choose how to continue. So let's do that. Now let's bring this in.
But Elisa, can you go back a step where you found that image, something?
Yeah, this is it here. This is the image.
Cool, thank you.
Right. I'm an artisan. Right. Okay. Okay, so you need to choose how you want to continue, whether you want to start as a client or as an artisan, right? Abiodun, I also believe that some people, like, so if you're launching this app now, it's not everybody who is coming here that needs to sign up. Some people might need to log in, right? So that's like in the case of, this is not the first time you're using the app, but maybe you change
Yes,
your phone
for
and
the
then
who
you
change their
downloaded the
device.
app again.
Yes.
So now you need to be able to skip this process. So for that, we need
Yes.
to add a way for people to log in. So for that, let's say something like, right? So we can do this. So okay. Yeah, I think this is okay. What do you think, Abiodun?
Beautiful. Just great.
Okay. So from here, depending on which one you choose, you then need to go to the next step, right? So if you were to choose that I'm a client, you now need to choose what's the next thing going to be, right? So here we then bring in the input field. So here, what do we need to collect? We need to collect their name. Abiodun now, what do we need to collect?
Yes, then there are full name, address as a client, address, email, phone number. As simple as that.
Email.
Yes.
Phone number.
Phone number. Yes. And,
okay, is that all?
And the create and confirm password. And confirm.
Confirm password. And we need a button.
A button, yes.
Right? Yes, for them to go to the next step. What should be on the button?
Sign up.
Okay. Okay, we are done with that. What's the next thing?
Yeah, so the person is signed up, then they should sign in.
So I'm hoping that all these things you're telling me now, you're reading it out from your user flow, right?
I'm not even reading it out. I've not opened that page.
But you already have a user flow because the user flow should precede this step. So you shouldn't get to this step if you don't have a user flow.
Yes, I understand that.
Okay, great stuff. Okay, so after the person puts in this information, what comes next?
Sign in as okay, should I even share? They should sign in. Where's my...
Sign in as already user.
No, this is sign up. This is signing
Yeah.
up. So,
So
yes,
after you
they
have
should-
provided this information, what should follow?
after that information is the home page.
Sign in now.
Is the home page. After signing in now, then they should go to their home page where they'll see a list of services and their name pops up, say, hello, Abiodun, what service would you like today?
Okay, so there are a couple of things,
They
right?
can then choose, yes.
Okay, so there are a couple of things. You didn't think about validating the phone number, the email address that this person has provided.
Oh, no,
You don't think
I
that's
didn't think about
important? So if we collect
It
their
is
email
important.
address now and their phone number, we are not sure if the email address is correct. We are not sure if the phone number is correct. And you need to think that for every information that you are collecting from somebody at the point of sign up, as a business, that information is important beyond just them being able to log in with that information. You also need that information for marketing purposes so that you can, send them email, so that you can send them text message, so that you can, do other things with that information, basically. Now, so if you collect this information here and you just go from this point to go and sign in, and you haven't validated whether that email they have provided for you is correct or that phone number they have provided for you is correct, it means that you have a higher chance of, having a bunch of emails and phone numbers that is incorrect. And then when you are sending email, it doesn't go to anybody. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely it does.
Okay. So what do you, so based on that, what do you think should be the next step?
So it will be verify email after now.
Okay, sounds good. How do you think that verification should be done?
Verification, a verification mail will be sent to the email they have entered, and it will have a link, and it will have a it will have a link that directs them to then sign in. Yeah, so that comes between this frame and sign in. Yes, correct.
Okay. So what you have just explained now, let me give it back to you and be sure that we're on the same page. So you have said that after they click on sign up here, you take them to an email with a link is sent to them, right? And then they go and check their email and they click on that button and then it validates and then
it leads
is that what
to
you
a
said?
sign up, to a sign in. Yes, sir. It leads to a sign in page.
To sign in. Okay, yeah. But how about if we do the validation via SMS instead? Don't you think that would be a better approach? So when we do the validation via SMS, that means that an OTP is sent to them via SMS. It drops on their phone, and then they are able to enter it in the next screen and then move to the next step. Instead of them having to leave this app, go and check their email, open that the email that you've just sent to them, then click on a link, and then it takes them outside of the app. Which do you think?
I think it is either or. So yeah, which it is either or. They work well, and since it is okay, I think an OTP will then work because of the nature of business. It is maybe to verify their phone number so that they can be reached easily on phone than mail. Yeah, I think OTP could work better in this case. It is either or, but OTP may be just be a better idea.
Okay, so if we say that the OTP is the better idea now, we need to then also consider the cost of sending OTP. So OTP is not free. Email on the other hand is free.
Sir?
Can you hear me?
Oh yes, I can. Can you come again, please? And somebody's mic is on, so
okay. I said if we. Hello?
I am with you, sir.
Okay. Yeah, so I said that if we then settle for doing phone number validation, right? Where in which case an OTP is sent to the customer for them to come and enter the OTP and stuff, right? So while that's the more seamless approach, it's more expensive than email
Than
validation,
email.
right?
Yes.
Right. So in that case, for us to then decide on which approach to do, right, which is what me and Kenny has been talking about, right? So the work of a product designer is beyond just, working on all of these things. In order to make this decision now, we need to check with the engineering team and the clients as well and say that, oh, okay, this is how we are thinking about this onboarding process. Is there a budget for SMS validation, which is going to cost us ₦4 per customer, or should we do email validation? So whichever one that comes out of that meeting is the one that makes sense to do, not just our own assumption of what we think is better. Do you understand?
Yes, sir, I do.
So with that, now you are able to understand that you need to balance and user side of things as well. So while we want to, make things very, very sweet and very, very wonderful for the user, we also want to make sure that it is something that the business is able to cater for, right? So if we want to do OTP now, because we know that it makes sense to do that, it's going to be faster, it's going to be sweeter for the user. What if the business cannot afford it? It ultimately defeats the whole point of everything that we have done, which is why at every point of whatever it is that you're doing as a you need to carry along the engineering team as well as the business team as well to be sure that the work that you are doing is something that the engineers can deliver and the business side of things can afford. Do you get?
Yes, sir, I do. I understand.
Did you get that?
I got it, sir. I understand.
Every other person, okay. Every other person, we don't have a lot of people on the call, so I think everybody can be carried along. Abdulaziz, do you get that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Ngozi, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. What do you think about what we've just talked about?
Okay. I quite agree with sending the email verification for cost efficiency. Although I'm also of the opinion that I don't know if it's possible that the clients indicates which one would be easier for verification purpose. So I also know that some persons may have their email address or they may have opened their email for a long time and they may not be accessing it. So if they see a form like this, they'll most likely remember to put their email address. Some persons even forge it. So when it's not time for verification, the fastest route may be their telephone number. So I don't know if it's possible that a selection can be made for verification, email verification or SMS OTP. Yes, also considering service provider networks and all. Thank you.
That's a fantastic suggestion.
Excellent.
That's a very, very wonderful one. Kenny Baba, what do you think, sir?
Yeah, I mean, if what Ngozi just explained now is, if you notice some apps like maybe Bolt or this thing, you see that most of them, they just use the phone number for verification. Because I mean, some people, for example, the app we're looking at is an artisan app. For example, I'm an artisan. I'm a painter. I don't have emails, so I prefer you just do the whole OTP stuff on my phone, which is, I mean, like Ridwan said, is all of these things, all of these decisions are not things you can just make on your own. All of this come from talking to your engineers, the business people, your users, the people you're targeting, and then so I think doing that OTP with the phone number is a fantastic idea. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So phone number OTP it is. So let's do that. Thank you, Kenny. Thank you, Ngozi. Please, let's all participate. If you have any suggestion as we go along with this process, please just raise your hand and we can unmute you and then you can give your suggestion, please. Let's keep it as interactive as possible. So we want to do our verification now. Sign up as a client, verify your phone number. Okay.
Yeah. So while you are Mr. Ridwan, while you are
Yes,
I
Baba.
think Ogechuku has a question. She
Oh,
has
okay.
her hands raised. Yeah. So you can go ahead, Oge.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
please
hello.
go on.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Happy Easter.
Same to you.
Yeah, like,
Go on, please.
yeah, I think I go with Ngozi's contribution because um, we cannot give the statistics of people that will use just SMS alone. So I still feel because we are thinking that they are artisans, I still feel we should put that email. Like, I know that, SMS will be like, okay, more, but let's make email optional. Like, just put it there. I don't think it's going to bite if that space is being put there.
I'm not sure I got that very well. Kenny Baba, did you get that?
Yes, so I mean, she's advocating for that. She's saying if we have an email option there, it's not. I mean, it's not something we should just throw away. Yeah. So I mean, if depends on the agreement you have with everyone working on this. You can decide to have that the email field on the form, and then probably you put optional like maybe the compulsory, the ones that are compulsory, you have it asterisk, and then you like these are required field and stuff like that. So again, also has to do with your from the technical side of things. Well, do we need it? I mean, if you have those answers, if you have all of those answers, and then you know that you really do not need the emails, like there's no point collecting. But if you feel you should collect it, then it is fine. So if you want to do both, you want to collect the emails and then you want to do the phone number verification, you can have both on the forms, and then probably the email shouldn't be required. Yeah, I think that would be my suggestion also. But I think the question Ridwan raised was like the verification part. Yes, people can do verification via email by clicking on a link that you receive in your email, but I think based on your users, if you look at your users and everything, maybe using the OTP might be a better option to do. Yeah. But to answer you, it is possible to have both. But again, you need to answer the question, do you really need to have both?
Mm-hmm.
I think read one is done. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Abiodun. Thank you, Baba Kenny.
Thanks.
Abiodun, please.
Yes, sir. My comment is on we're doing a lo-fi. Yeah. Should it have this blue color on it? Shouldn't it be just black and white? Or it doesn't matter because
no, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. I mean, the more you can. So the thing about wireframing is that as it is now, what we have done is not too fine, right? We're just trying to, while we are trying to keep it sketchy, we are also trying to make it a bit realistic so that when certain people are looking at it, they are able to get a picture of what to expect from this. So if you have seen some wireframes, right, you would have seen, so let me show you another type of wireframe that some people usually do. And I'll tell you why. Okay, so let's take this. Okay. So this is another. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is another way that you can do a wireframe, which is usually like very, very, very skeletal without giving you like a full picture of, or like a more realistic picture of what exactly to expect. If you look at this now, in between these two, right, it's kind of the same thing when you think about using just lines to represent the idea of what you're trying to do, right? But taking it a step further to this, you actually use realistic text, and then realistic placement as well. It helps you, the product designer, to have a better idea of what you're trying to do. It helps the engineers to gain a better understanding and have a better picture of what they need to do. So in situations where, for instance, you're working on a product where the backend engineers need to start building immediately, if you give them, right, they are able to start putting together the database structure to sort of understand what kind of information they need to collect at different points of that journey, right? But if you were to use like more sketchy things without colors, with just pure lines, it can be more difficult for other people to make sense of what it is that you're trying to do. So just back to your question, using just one color. If you would observe as we continue, I wouldn't use like too many colors, just one color to give an idea what exactly that we're trying to do. So because personally for me, black just, it's in a way, it doesn't make it realistic, which is why sometimes I try to bring in color to just make it more realistic, so that in fact when I'm moving to Figma and making things more beautiful, it's easier for me to just move on from there than when everything is black and just black like that. Those are my thoughts. Kenny, I don't know if you have anything to add to
so
that.
I mean, it's the same. So the whole idea of this wireframe lo-fi stuff is so that you won't be having discussions of, what color do you want to make the button? What do you want to do this? Like, that is not your goal at this point. The goal is to get your thoughts right, to get everything flowing. For example, look at what we just discussed now about the email, adding email or not. Like, these are the questions you keep asking yourself at this stage, not like, should I make the button rounded? Should we make the button blue or green? Like, this is not what you want to really be concerned about too. But I mean, because sometimes you just want to make stuff a little bit appealing for people to see, so you don't want to go the sketching part. So that's why I decided to use like a color. And you see that I use very use minimal color. It's only the button that is taking that color, and it's not something is now doing for all of those input fields and whatever. So if you want to have, but don't make it too much, like just something very, very, very simple. It's lo-fi, and the whole lesson is just to get the idea out of the head first. So Ridwan, is making a case. I mean, is it a question for the email? It said, I suppose on the part of resetting an account or of forgotten password, why are emails the go-to option? So it's more like a question to me. It's more like an answer to. I mean, it's more like an argument to the reason why we should put an email or not. And then it's also a question. The person is also asking a question at the end. So if you think about, okay, what if this person at some point this person can't remember their password and then they want to reset their password? How do you go about that?
I mean, if we decide to do just phone number, right, we can also reset password with phone number as well.
Exactly.
In this case, if you want to reset your password, we send an OTP to you. You verify that you are the one who has requested to change your password, and then once you validate that, you can move on to the next step. So it can go either way, right? If we decide to do email, you can keep your entire experience you can keep your entire interaction on just email. If you decide to go with phone number, you can keep your entire interaction in terms of phone number as well. But one of the things that I've also seen these days is that, in terms of choosing which one or the other, right? Emails are very, very disposable in many cases, right? So you have a lot of people who have like a bunch of emails and, they hardly even check those emails, right? Which means if your product has anything to do with interacting with people beyond just your app, trying to bring them back to the app and all of that, if email is like the only thing that you're doing, and many of those people who are using your app, they are using disposable emails, you'll be hard to reach them. But if it is with, phone number as well, that can also work because it's just one phone number one person can have, and you can't be changing phone number up and down, So there are pros and cons for like all these different things, and it can go either way, right? It just ultimately comes down to the one you decide to do because of business reasons, because of engineering reasons, because of, different reasons, basically. So anyone can work.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so Abiodun, we have switched to black, which is also based on Kenny's comments as well, that at this point in time, the most important focus should be the structure of things and what we need to see, what needs to be here and all of that, and not exactly the color. And I can also see how using the color blue, one person can now start to obsess that I don't want to see color blue. Let's change it to red. Let's change it to pink and all of that. So just keeping it at blue can help us, keeping it at black rather can help us avoid all those arguments and say, this is a button is supposed to be here, and we won't be having any conversation around, what should the color of the button be? Should it be rounded corner? Should it be sharp edge and all of that, So, yeah. Abiodun, so what next?
So yeah, this is where we go to the sign-in page now after verification.
Okay. Sorry. So. Okay. So what do we need here?
So the phone number / email.
Okay.
I think it would be great if we have participation from everyone too, so you can unmute yourself, or maybe just drop anything on the chat and I'll read it out to Ridwan. Thank you.
Okay. So I mean, everybody here, I'm sure we have a general idea of how this app is supposed to work, So let's get feedback from everybody. Let's move to Chijoke. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Good evening.
Okay. Good evening. How are you doing? Happy Easter.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, all right. So, have you been following along since we started?
Yes.
Okay. So now, the user has signed up, right? They have verified their account. Now they want to sign in. What should be on this page?
Well, I think we should just use phone number and email address, then password.
Okay, but do you mean that there should be a field for phone number, another field for email address?
No, sorry. Phone number or email address, then password.
Then password.
So Ridwan, I want to also read the question from the chat. This is Taufikat is asking, because the person said, I think there should be authentication code before signing. But I don't know why. I mean,
are you on this call so that you can unmute yourself?
I mean, so that yeah, I think that's good. Taufik, except if you are in a noisy place, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
The question has, hello.
Okay.
I'm here. The question has been answered. So
thank you.
Someone has answered. Someone has thrown the question and it has been answered.
Has been answered.
All right.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. All right. Thank you. Chijoke.
How it is, sir?
Oh yeah. What else?
Yeah, we are good to go. Phone number or email, then enter password.
Are you sure we are good to go?
We are not good to go. Are you sure we are good
Okay,
to go?
no. Let's say forgotten password.
Uh-huh.
Also, already logged in. I don't know, like you already logged in, a question mark, sign in or something like that. I don't know.
So if you happen to land on this page but you need to create an account, right?
Yes,
Is that what
already
you
a
mean?
member.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds good.
Sorry, I think that will conflict with the you are all set. Because if you're using the word you are all set, that means the person is ready, unless that will be used by maybe one coding or something.
I love all of you right now with this engagement projection. Absolutely. And that's a very, very fantastic angle. Yes, sign up with you are all set is a very, very conflicting thing. So what has happened is that this flow now is for somebody who you have created an account and you have landed here because you just created an account, right? So if you were to maybe close this app now and then relaunch it again, this is not what it will show you. It will show you sign in, right? In which case it would make sense for us to have the, not new here, create an account. Are you in agreement with me, the person that made that point?
Yes.
Okay. So that means we are not going to have that sign up here. What we are just going to have is the having trouble logging in, reset password, and that's it. I think there's one more thing that needs to be here. Does anybody want to help?
Remember me.
Remember me. This is a mobile
Just
app.
beneath
Usually
the enter password.
What did you say?
As just beneath enter password. Small checkbox. But then
Abi, do you think we should have remember me?
I have.
Oh, okay. From my own perspective, because of we have to look at new trends and the likes, talking about security and the likes. All these processes can be captured using the maybe biometrics.
Okay.
So can we introduce biometrics?
So
also
what
on the password field
is, okay, go on, Chijioke.
On the password field, we could have that I don't know, eye icon.
Thank you. Fantastic.
Yeah, Onyeka also mentioned it in the chat. She dropped something like that on the chat, like where you can have a visible toggle the password and off. Yeah.
This is very, very key these days. People, because when you are entering the password and you are not sure what exactly you have entered, you need to be able to toggle the visibility of the password, right? So that's like very, very key there. And then what Abdullah has suggested, Abib Abdullah has suggested, is for you to be able to log in. So for instance, if you are using a phone that has biometrics, right, you should be able to toggle that on and say you want to be able to log in with that, right, which is like next level. So let's just keep that for now. Let's keep it very, very simple, right, so that we can move very fast. So you're all set, sign into your accounts. We have collected, we have a field for you to put in your phone number, to put in your password, and then the button for you to log in as well, right? And then if you're having trouble logging in, you can reset your password from this point, right? So Ayodele, what should follow after this? Ayodele, are you there? Okay.
Maybe it's in a noisy background, so some people. Someone's asking a question. So how about signing with Google or all those social media stuff?
Oh, that's something, right?
Yeah.
So if we wanted to do that, we would need to have included that from here, right? From where you are signing up.
Yeah.
Right. So, and if you wanted, which is actually a very, very great UX, because if you allow people to do social sign up, that means they can skip all this process of putting their full name, their address, their email address, their phone number, and all of that. You can just collect everything from Google, right? Or Facebook, depending on the option that they eventually go with. But that's also dependent on whether your engineers that you have on ground are able to implement that particular feature. So if you go and design it now and your engineers are not able to implement it, you'll just be creating problems for your engineers. So, there are like all those different considerations that you need to put in mind before you decide on what you want to do, which is why for any decision that you make in your design, it needs to be informed by, what your users are looking for, what your engineers are able to deliver, and what the business people also are trying to achieve with, what they are taking to the market, So yes, that's a great idea, but let's just keep it, right? But it's a great idea. Thanks for bringing that up.
Sorry, Ridwan, sorry for cutting there. So I mean, to add to what you've said, so I really like this exercise because as you can see, even as product designers, there are so many back and forth, there's so many questions you keep asking, there are so many things you feel, oh, we can improve the experience by doing this and that. And the idea of having a social sign-on, I mean, that can even come in like maybe an upgraded version. Maybe this is like 1.0, like let's just get the MVP done first. Like we've said here, like let us be done with this process first, and then we can now include that one as, okay, we've updated our app. Till today, WhatsApp is always pushing out updates almost every week or every, I don't know, bi-weekly, and then you get a notification to update your app because there's always something new to be done. So it's actually a good idea. And yeah. I also thought I should read out some of the questions to you. Read one from here. Someone is asking, can we have an instance where a new user finishes the registration and verification and then it lands on the home page instead of registering and signing in again? I'm not sure if that question is clear. So
okay, so I think what that person is saying is that after you have signed up, you shouldn't be required to sign in. You should just sign up and go straight into the app.
Okay.
Right. So this flow that we're building now is based on best practice. I've also thought about that in some projects that I've worked on. But the conclusion has always been that after signing up, people need to sign in to the app instead of going straight into the app from the sign-up process. And it's beneficial in a couple of ways. It helps them to remember their password. It helps them to understand the sign-in process, and it also helps to validate. It's also sort of like a security measure, right? So that there's just one step before you get into the app, before you start to do many things and all of that, So it's just best practice, really. I don't really have a strong argument for why. I don't know if Kenny would have a strong argument for why the standard is that after you sign up, you still need to sign in. I don't really have a strong argument. For me, it's just like the best practice is something that, the Facebook is doing, the Twitter is doing, the Snapchat is doing, and, we just decide to do it as well. Kenny,
yeah,
you have any strong
I'll agree with you, Ridwan, because now, okay, I mean, it's just like a security feature, like especially when we're looking at maybe let's say like a thing, because it happens to me too when I'm using all of this financial app. They keep asking me to log in and I'm always very angry, like, okay. So I noticed, for example, there's this app called Rise. Rise, I think they were called is it Rise? I'm not sure.
Yes, it's Rise Vest.
Yeah, Rise Vest. So they
rebranded as Rise.
Yes. So I think it was maybe somebody also made this kind of complaint that, oh, why are you always asking me for my username and password? So they added a feature where you can just set a PIN. Like you don't need to now put in your email and password again. So with your PIN, just put your PIN and then you are signing up. If you're on an iPhone, so they have this like built-in feature. So like Ridwan keeps saying, you have to make this decision based on your engineering capabilities too. So instead of me using my signing in every time, or maybe using my setting up a PIN to log in, they can use this facial recognition that is inbuilt on iPhone to log in straight straight to the application. So it's mostly because of security. Maybe they've stolen the guy's phone or whatever. So yeah, that's the reason for that. Yeah. But maybe if you talk to maybe the engineering team and they say there's a way they can detect maybe from the back end, if the person that is using it is actually the person that is using it, then they can then scrap the phone number. I mean, you signing in again. But you need to be sure your engineering team can do that. They can deliver on that feature before you I mean finalize on the design. So I think it's just a security stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Mr. Kenny has helped with that, and I hope that answers your question. So I mean, time is fast spent. Onyeka, are you there? Can you talk? Okay. Temi Yaluko, can you talk?
I think Onyeka is just sending messages. she said after sign up, should be user profile, dashboard, depending on the platform.
Sorry, I was typing.
Oh, okay. We need you to talk, or not type, please. Except if you are in a noisy environment. Yeah. So Onyeka, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I said it. I was actually typing. I said after sign up should be user profile or dashboard depending on the platform. So let's say
but you know the platform we are building now.
If you sign up, obviously you go back to that dashboard, do whatever you want to do.
I didn't get that though.
Yes.
You said from here now, the next thing should be the user.
So yeah, dashboard. I still feel like we go back to our dashboard.
Okay, dashboard. So what should be in the dashboard?
I said yeah, go back to.
Yeah. So what should be in the dashboard? I think your income is having some issues. Oh yeah, Abiodun, what should be in the user dashboard? What you mean?
Okay. Welcome note to the owners. Welcome, Abiodun. What service would you need today?
Why is it welcome, Abiodun?
Then okay, welcome, Ridwan. What service would you like today? Then several services in boxes, a grid format of boxes.
Okay.
So
So I actually
I was just going to say that too.
So I feel it should just take you straight to services that you probably came for, and of course maybe at the top having like a welcoming.
Okay.
So, excuse me. Sorry. This is the artisans signing.
Is it
not client?
No, this is client. Sign up as a client.
This is sign up as a client. Okay.
This is
all right.
client.
All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Then yes. So services.
Sorry, just a question so that I'm clear. The client is the person that wants to probably hire an artisan now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So what should be on? I think what should be on the dashboard should be like the available, like plumber, the barber, the domestic staff, and stuff.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay. This is just a suggestion, but based on my own experience about apps like this, maybe you working with the having the client side and the artisan side. I think before all this stage, don't you think we have a kind of screen that will talk about the category you want? You know, you coming in as a maybe, okay, you want to look for an artisan now. You have to have categories that, you know, maybe I'm a type of tech person. I'm looking for, people I'll be looking for is maybe I'll have interest in maybe people that do graphic design, people that do something that's there to take. Another person might be coming from another aspect that, okay, a barber aspect, a fashion aspect, and you understand these categories. Don't you think it can work in this kind of a situation too?
No,
isn't that what
I think this person is missing the point though. No.
So this
like
is,
you need, okay.
Yeah, go on, Abiodun, please.
Okay, like it's not. I think that person has missed the point of the services. So, like you are told, you need not that you are a designer, you need a designer. No, you need somebody to come and clean your house. You need someone to give you a cut at home. You need a mechanic. Your car broke down. You need a mechanic close by that can come home. You are going out. You need a babysitter. All those kind of things. It's not that something related to what you are working with. It's completely different from what is
I understand what you're trying to say, but you know, sometimes you want to see something that, now I'm talking about your news feed fetch or something. Should I say news feed fetch or your fetches or the kind of things that comes to your, I'm just trying to, I don't know, maybe you understand what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so Abib, let me try and answer that, right? So let's go back to what we said this app does, right? So it's an application where people can find and hire artisans, right? So what's the first thing we have done? We have created 2 ways for you to use this app, either as a client or as an artisan. If you decide to use it as a client, the first thing you're required to do is to sign up. After you sign up, you verify. After you verify, you sign in. And after you sign in, the next thing you're doing is you're choosing the category of service that you need today. So if you launch the app as a client, the first thing that you see is for you to choose what category of artisan do you need today? Do you need a plumber? Do you need a painter? Do you need a cleaner? Do you need a mechanic? Do you need a fashion designer? Do you get?
I get you.
So you choose the one that you want. So there are other ways that, you know, this can be, but we are deciding to do it like this. How else do you think this home page should look like when you log in, Abib?
The home page when you log in. Fine, first thing, maybe there'll be a greetings. Okay, fine, how can we help you today? Okay, what service do you want us to render? Then after that, we can have like a search button, a search place where you input whatever you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I get that.
Yes. Then maybe
okay. So let's say that you have cleaner, you have welder, you have
okay, I mean, while Ridwan is trying to look for artisan name, I mean, people can drop options on this chat too. So I wanted to what Abib was talking about the other time. I think I had the similar onboarding experience to when I was signing up to Pinterest, if that's what they call it, Pinterest. So when you sign in, when you sign up, because Pinterest, they don't know anything about the user. So they try to give you options of things you can select, or maybe what are you categories of stuff you are interested in. So when you select, so all of those help them to eventually populate your dashboard or your home page with stuff that they feel you would like based on what you selected. So I guess that was the point he was trying to raise.
So for that now, if what we were doing was a social application, right? For instance, for you to upskill or for you to learn more about a particular job that you do. So say for instance now, if you are a tailor and you want to access like learning materials, you want to meet more tailors and all of that, right? That in that case, it makes sense that during the onboarding, you choose you refine what you are going to see when you log in. So
Yes,
you set
yeah.
that, oh, I'm a tailor, only show me tailor things. Or I'm a welder, only show me welder things. You know,
Yeah.
that sort of thing like that.
Yeah.
But for this one now, they have a task that they have come here to do. They want to hire somebody, right?
Yeah.
So they choose at the beginning that, oh, so if we even add like maybe another social part to this app now, where maybe you are able to see trending jobs, or you're able to see that and all of that, which would be more relevant in the artisan app. In that case, now we can now choose for you to select the kind of topics that you want to be seeing in your own page. That's that kind of thing. Sure, you get, Baba. Habib, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. And again, the example you used about Pinterest, I think the kind of a perfect example you should use, like maybe Upwork, because Upwork is a kind of platform that is different from this, but you know, me from the first time I onboarded myself on that app, I've chosen to be maybe a product designer. People I want, the kind of work I want, the field. I can never see maybe a kind of maybe another field, or the kind of job field that will be coming to my feeds will be mainly product designing and maybe graphic designing. So
it's the same thing we are saying.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah.
It's the same thing we are saying, don't worry. So basically, you are just tailoring the experience to the kind of thing that you want to vibe with, right? So we have this here, search, which I think is relevant in the case where we have like a lot of categories here. There's more than you can see here. So in which case you can just search for a particular category. So Abiodun, Kilokon, what's next?
All right. So after now, so assuming the person chooses plumber, he has a list of plumbers in his area. Okay, there should be a location tracker, because it will link people according to their location. Yeah. So this also Ajani Ajagbe, 2 kilometers away, Tola Badiru, 100 meters away.
So that means
like that.
when
So
the user logs in, so that means when the user logs in, they need to allow location services.
Allow location, yes, please.
Okay, great stuff. So time is fast spent. I think we'll end this here for today. But I hope that everybody on the call is able to by now understand the whole idea of wireframing, why we do it. I mean, we have all seen how we have been having all this back and forth that we are doing now since morning. Sure, you get. So it allows you to just very, very quickly visualize the concept of what you're trying to do. It allows you to also make like very, very quick iterations as well. So for instance, we can also argue that this first screen that we have now, where it says that welcome to service, you choose how you want to continue, right? You choose that I am a client or I am an artisan, used service you before, sign in, right? And then you come to this screen, which is like 2 steps. We can also say that maybe, just maybe, another way this can be would be and
Sorry, I just wanted to ask, or I don't know, maybe it's a suggestion. From the first page here where we have I'm a client, I'm an artisan. Could it actually work in a way where we can from there go straight to, if you pick I am a client, you can go straight to just looking for, the services you came for, and when you are done finding the person to book the person, it now takes you to the registration place as either a first timer or logging in. as an existing member.
Dele, you're a very smart boy. Clap for yourself.
So that way, at least you
Dele,
don't
clap for yourself.
I'm clapping.
I cannot hear Dele clap. Kenny Baba, can you hear him?
We'll send virtual clap.
So that's a great suggestion, actually, right? So when you're building a product, another major challenge that we are usually confronted with is how to get people to use the product, right? Especially when you consider all these like very, very saturated markets where there's like already a lot of people in the same space offering the same services. So what can you do uniquely that can get people to use the product? And the suggestion that you just shared now is a great way to get people to use the product without first getting them to commit first, right? So usually when you're asking people to sign up, you're already asking them for something without giving them something. But when you allow them to first find something, you have already given them value, right? And then when you now bring up the sign up form, it's easier for them to right? It's easier for them to sign up. So that's a great approach. That's another thing that you can do. That's a very, very good one. That's something else that you can do. But of course, there are like a lot of other considerations there, right? That you need to also think about, which is also from like the engineering standpoint, from the business standpoint as well, that you need to think about. But in all, that's a great approach. That's another approach that you can do, where once you choose that I'm a client, you just immediately allow your location services. You can look for the artisan, and just before you are able to see the information about that artisan, you are required to sign up. It's a great idea. It's definitely something to do. You get.
So okay, what I just say that's mentioned. It will be like Emily Dates or those dating apps I use. Now, the risk is that people can locate an artisan and not and just call them up, get their contact somehow, and it's not like you mentioned. It will not be good for that business.
So you know, like I said, there are considerations involved and there are risks involved, like you have said as well. You know, and one of the major risks which you have said, which I thought you were even going to mention, is so one of the reasons why many apps usually put sign up first is so that they can follow up with you if you drop off at any point in time. So if you come here now, you have given us your full name, you have given us your name, you have given us your email address, and you have given us phone number. If you drop off at any point in time from here, so maybe you log in and you don't come back, or you find an artisan and you don't do any other thing, right? We are able to follow up with you later on. Maybe after 2 days, we are able to follow up with you and say, Shegun, we haven't seen you in 2 days, come back, you know, that sort of thing, so that we can bring you back and get you to use the app. But that is not possible in the case where we have already allowed you to use the app without getting any information about you, which means that if you drop off at any point in time, we don't have anything that we can use to reach out to you and bring you back to the app. Dele, does that make sense to you?
Yes, I
So for anything that you decide to do in your product, for any design decision that you take, there are pros and cons, right? You have to weigh them and decide on, you know, which is the better evil to do. That is always the decision that you need to make, right? For anything you decide to do, there are like other things that, there are like other problems that you're creating, but you know, just at the end of the day, you just have to decide on which is the better evil to do, which makes sense, which makes more sense to do, right? Then also, I was going to talk about why you know, we do these low fidelity wireframes. So as you can,
I'm sorry, Ridwan, I'm sorry for cutting.
Back and forth.
Before you quickly go, past the previous topic, I just thought to mention this. So I mean, like you said, there are like different ways to. So if you come up with an idea, there are always the pros, there are always the disadvantages, and all of that. So for in this case where you probably show the artisan, like you probably won't show all of the details, but you are trying to like tell the person looking for an artisan that we have this service that you are actually looking for, who is on our platform.
We are not lying.
We are not lying, you know, the person is here, but you won't probably put the phone number, you won't probably put this thing. So if the person is now convinced that, okay, I really want to commit to getting this person, and then I provide my full details, and then I get the person. So it's just like
exactly, just pulling them in basically.
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you, Baba. So I also wanted to say before we move on from here that one of the key benefits of doing wireframes is how easy it is for you to make iterations, right? As you can see, with all the talk that we have been talking and the back and forth that we have been doing, it's very, very easy for you to just move this guy and, you know, take this one here and move this one here. So these things are very, very easy and very, very quick when you're doing it in low fidelity wireframe. It's not as easy when you have moved to high fidelity wireframe. So again, it's a lot more complex there. So this is the place where you can do as you like. And, you know, you can even do this on a call with your clients, with your engineers and everybody, so that as you are doing it, you are getting feedback and you're making changes on the spot. So that by the time you move from here to high fidelity prototypes, there will be little back and forth you are going to have at that point, because all of you have already agreed on the structure. All of you have already agreed on the information you need to collect at every point in time. And another point that I wanted to mention, please and please, please and please, don't ever do any design work with lorem ipsum. Never ever do it. It's wrong. You can be jailed for doing it. Don't do it ever, right? Lorem ipsum, it makes the work you are doing fake, right? So you can imagine that all these things that we are doing here now, we are doing it with dummy text. We are saying that, so maybe in this place now, we put lorem, we put ipsum here, we put, you know, all this dummy text here, and it doesn't have the real context of how exactly are people going to use this product. It means that if you use lorem ipsum, when the engineers are looking at your wireframes, they don't understand how that thing is supposed to come to life. When your client is looking at it, they don't have a real life context of how exactly that product is supposed to work, right? So don't ever do anything with lorem ipsum. Always work with like actual content. On this page, what do we need people to see? What information do we need to collect? Always work with actual content. Don't work with, you know, dummy content, fake content. Don't ever do that. Always work with like actual content. What do we need to collect here? Always work with that, you know. Baba Kenny, do you want to add any 2 cents to that?
Yeah, I mean, so one addition to that would be sometimes when you do design with lorem ipsum, I mean, so it's like this dummy text that we just copy and paste from somewhere, we just put it there. Most times the content are not always like the same. When you're not doing the actual design, and then you've designed with probably six length, or how would I call it now? Like with the lorem, is you just copy it from somewhere and then use it. And then when you are done with the final design, you find out that it's just only 2 lines of text is required, and then you now have plenty white space all over the place, and you don't know what you're going to do. And this is supposed to be the final design. So I mean, there's a lot of like confusion, and then everyone is looking at something that is totally different. So you want to avoid it by all means. Try and work with real content. Try and come up with words, type those words, use them from your designs. And yeah, I think that's like the whole essence. I think someone is asking a question.
Miriam, go ahead.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, my question is, let's say as we are working on the wireframe like this, you don't want to spend so much time cracking your head to like think of, okay, what sentence is going to be here, especially if you are working on maybe like a landing page, and aside the headings, you need like text for the body. And you don't want to spend so much time thinking, since you are trying to focus on how the whole design is going to look. So if you are not using lorem ipsum, like what else do you advise?
You see that landing page example that you brought. Happy that example. Now, you shouldn't do so. Content precedes design, right? It's not the other way around. It's not that you will first do design and then you fill in content later. You actually need to have, because when you're working on like a landing page design, right? It is the content that will tell you how you need to structure the landing page. It is the content that will tell you, oh, this is the headline, this is the body text, this is the button, this is the secondary button, this is where the image will be, or no, I should use an illustration instead. It is the content that will tell you all of those things. So when you get a brief that says, design a landing page, you can't do anything if you don't have the content. So the content should precede any work, any design work that you want to do on that landing page. You should first know that, we are going to have a headline here that reads, welcome to Lagbaja or something like that. We are going to have a body text that is about 140 characters, that sort of thing. That is what would let you know how to structure your landing page. So you can't structure landing page when you don't know the content that's supposed to be there. That's my own 2 cents on that.
Sorry.
Ridwan,
I wanted to add to that. You are very correct. And from past experience, I've noticed that it is when maybe whoever is giving out the task doesn't know what they want to do. They just want to frustrate the life of a designer. Most times that's when they just say, oh, just go and come up with something. And then when you tell them to do I need a content. Okay, what are we going to put here? Then you see them, they'll run away. They won't disturb you anymore. So most times it's always very good to ask them, okay, this place, what are we going to put there? What kind of wording do you want to have? And then they won't say anything to you again. They won't disturb you again. So it's for me, I've used it as a way over the years to get them too involved in what I'm trying to do. You can't just tell me go and come up with a landing page, and then because you're not paying me, and it's mostly from people that is not going to pay a dime. They just want to waste your time. They just want to frustrate you. That's, from personal experience, really. So, but when you try to involve them, tell them that, okay, on this page, we have this hero section at the top. I'm going to display an hero image to the right, but I need a content to the left. What should we put there? You'll see that they will probably not chat you again for the next 2 weeks, and then you go and do some other work that is more profitable. So that's why content is always very good. Yeah.
Yes.
And again, let me add to that. I think in this situation, in that kind of situation, you can also, because of time, sometimes there are a lot of content generators that you can use. I think I know of maybe copy.ai or Ismuch. There are a lot of it like that. Even there are plugins like that on Figma too that you can also use because of time.
Yeah. That makes sense. But just as much as you can, avoid using fake content. Because what usually happens is that by the time they now supply you with the real content that is supposed to be there, you would often find out that the structure that you have put in place does not work. That's what usually happens. In fact, all the time, that's what happens. When they now give you the actual content that needs to go in all of those places, you find out that maybe it's too long or it's too short, or it just at the end of the day, it doesn't work. So as much as you can, always work with real content from the very beginning. And in even better scenarios, right, on more funded projects, you usually have somebody who is dedicated to coming up with the content, and then the person just gives you the content and you use that to put together the structure. Okay.
Yeah. No, actually, I wanted to contribute. I think Mr. Kenny has done justice to it. Like he was saying that anyone using
good evening and happy Easter.
Sorry, good evening. I have talked before. Sorry, I have. Okay. Sorry, good evening, sir. Happy Easter. I have talked before, so I have to. All right, yeah. Okay. So yeah, like what Mr. Kenny was saying, he just hit the hammer on the nail. That person doesn't know what he or she is doing. That's just it. Because if you are the one that designed the research, the Google form and everything, the ideas will be flowing. You don't have to use a Lawrence, stuff. That's a dummy. That's something when you're playing in your bathroom that you're doing that. But when you're doing your real work, I don't think you should have that, surfacing itself. Mm-hmm. So I just think the person doesn't know what's.
Yeah. Thank you for that as well. So back to this. Sorry. Yeah. So like I said, this is the place where you get the chance to, do as you like, flex your muscles, and all of that, and then make iterations on the fly, right? So you can do this on the call with your clients, with the engineers, with all the different stakeholders involved. And as you're doing it, just like we are doing on this call now, as you're getting feedback, you're making adjustments. And don't forget, this step comes after the user flow, not before the user flow. So you can't come here now and then, you know, after you have done the sign up, you're now trying to decide what should come after. You should already define what the flow, what the user flow is going to be. That, okay, this person does this, they do this after, they do this after. So that in this place like this, everything is just smooth. You are just going, and the only thing you are doing here is just getting feedback on, you know, the structure of this. Should we ask for this here? Should we take it back and all of that? Of course, some of the things you do here might also make you have to go back to your user flow and make certain adjustments there. Because many times when you start to actually visualize the concept of what you're trying to do, you find out some of the things you had already defined in your user flow does not make sense anymore. And then you have to make adjustments and all of that, you know. So this is the chance for you to do all of that. So, you know, flex your muscles, do as you like, and, you know, just have a lot of fun in this phase. So this is what user flow is all about. I recommend using Miro because it comes pre-populated with a lot of components that you need. You have, you know, like phone mockups, you have tablet mockup, you know, let me show you what that is. You have a tablet mockup here, you have a browser.
Jam?
Yeah, FigJam is good, but it's not as powerful as this. My own personal thoughts. Maybe it will get there someday. But currently, FigJam is not as powerful. As Miro. Miro is really, really excellent. There are so many things that you can do here, and collaboration here is also great. Yeah. You can have like video call, you can have audio calls, you can. The things you can do on Miro is far more superior than the things you can do on FigJam, at least for now. Maybe tomorrow FigJam will not be as powerful. But I think the only software that comes close to Miro in terms of power, in terms of features, and in terms of things and flexibility would be Lucid Chat and maybe Whimsical. I think this would be the only two. But FigJam, no. Baba Kenny, do you have, you know, maybe opposing thoughts?
No. So I recently started using Miro myself, so I'm not really proficient. But from what I've seen from Miro is crazy. When I was doing Wireframe, I used to use this app called Balsamic Mockup, but it's paid. So you have like 30 days, and I mean, nobody should go and be doing premium stuff when there are other free ones. Yeah, so I think I'll just, use Miro. This Miro is probably the best now, like, personally.
Yeah, thank you, Baba. So it's like really good. It has like all these things. It has all these buttons already. You know, you have your solid button, you have your text button, you have your line button, you know, just a bunch of things, your search field, your drop down. It has like a bunch of things, right? So it makes doing wireframe like very, very quick. And, you know, your user flow, of course, as well, it's also very, very sweet as well. So from here, if you want to illustrate that it is coming here, it's just as simple as, you know, pulling from here and show that, you know, this is where it is coming to. And then from here, it's as simple as just pulling this button as well. Where it is coming to. From here, we can show that this is where it is coming to. You know, so it's like really, really it's very, very sweet and straightforward. You have a lot of things that you can do here. So my own personal recommendation would definitely be Miro. And on top of that, it is free. You know, so yeah.
Hello, sir. Please, I went offline. Please, can you show me how you did that prototyping again?
So click on any component, right? Like this.
All right, sir. When
you click on it, you can pull on any of these anchor points. Can you see it? So you usually have 4 anchor points around any shape.
All right, sir.
So you just pull anyone. You just pull anyone and you pull it to where you want to take it to. So you can say you want to bring it all the way to this place now for whatever reason, and you show it, right? And then if you need to pull anything down, you know, it works very, very well. It's very, very cool. Show you guys. So that's that in terms of wireframing.
Thank you, sir.
Visual principles. There are like a bunch of things that I thought we'd be able to cover today, but it's already past 6. So I will beg Mr. Kenny to give us. Is somebody talking?
start on the one.
Atiba, are you
Like you were
talking?
doing now. Yes, I'm the one talking.
Hello?
Okay, oh yeah, go on. Yeah, go on, please.
Yes, I didn't get the prototyping. Were you doing? I didn't get that. The prototyping you were doing on my road.
Oh, okay. So can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
So you just click on, so when you click on any component, any shape, any elements here, you are presented with 4 anchor points. This is it here, right? So you click on any of the anchor points and go and connect it to wherever you want to take it to. Do you understand? Atiba, did you get that?
Hello, good evening.
Who is talking? Atiba, is that you?
Yes. Actually, I wasn't the one that asked the question about the about the apps, to be used. You are okay. You guys are. For me, I am kind of like all I've been hearing is about Figma. But to this class, it's changed totally to Miro and other stuff. So, how will you rate Figma from your own point of view?
Atiba, I did not say Miro is better than Figma. There are different steps involved in the product design, in product design generally, right? So before you get to go and doing fine things on Figma, there are different things you need to do, like this wireframe that we are doing now. And the best place to do this wireframe that we are doing now is Miro, not Figma.
Okay.
So for instance, the ease with which you are able to create all of these things, you can't do that in Figma. Even linking all these different components and elements together, it's not as easy in Figma because Figma wasn't made for that. Figma was made for doing fine things and doing prototype and all of that. That's what Figma was made for, right? So maybe I would even show you guys something that I'm working on Figma right now so that you can see the difference between this. And coincidentally, I'm working on an app that's also for you to go and look for artisans and hire artisans. So let me just show us that very quickly.
I've not gotten the prototype.
What did you say?
I haven't gotten the prototyping that you were doing.
Okay, is that
like
you?
You were just stretching? Yes, you were stretching the lines.
Okay.
Miro. That, I know of that of Figma, but I'm trying to know the one for Miro. That's what I'm asking.
And so the Miro one, so you know that on Figma, you can create interactive prototype that you can interact with. On Miro, the only thing you can do is to show the connection between different parts of you get. So you can show that from here, when you click on this, this is where it will bring you to. When you click on this one, it will bring you here, just with arrow. Not that you'll be able to interact with it actually like you can do in Figma. No, you can't do that in Miro. Sure you get, okay. Okay, are you good now? Okay, great stuff. So I said I wanted to show you guys a high fidelity that I am working on, which coincidentally is also something for artisans, right? Let's see. Okay, sorry, I need to stop streaming now because Kenny Baba, my call you.
No, it's on YouTube, right?
Okay.
So so when we end it, I think it's going to be on Abi. I think so, because if it's on YouTube, I think it should.
On YouTube.
Yeah.
I joined on YouTube before I later switched to Zoom.
And it was working very well on YouTube, right?
Yes.